Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari. Yashodhana Dana Praja Jana Rana Jana. Yashodhana Dana Praja Jana Rana Jana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari. Yashodhana Dana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodhana Dana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki, Shri Shri Radha Radhanar ki, Jaya Om Vishnu Pada Paramamsa Parivrakacharya Astotara Shata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, BBT founder Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Mantra Upasaka Srila Prabhupada ki, Senapati Bhakta Srila Prabhupada ki, Preeminent Shiksha Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Savior of the whole world Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrakacharya Stotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Pramsa Kohosha Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shri Shri Gopa Gopinath Shamakur Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Mayapur Dham ki, Ganga Maya ki, Yamuna Maya ki, Tulsi Maharani ki, Sama Vyata Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gaura Premanande. All glories to the Sammal devotees, all glories to the Sammal devotees, all glories to the Sammal devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, entitled Prithu Maharaja's Meeting with the Kumaras. Text number 41. You can repeat after me. Maitreya Uvacha Sa Evam Brahma Putrena Kumarenatma Medasa Darshitatma Gati Samyak Prashasya Vacha Tam Nirpa Maitreya Uvacha Saevam Brahma Putrena Saevam Brahma Putrena Kumaretnatma Medasa Kumarenatma Medasa Darshitatma Gati Samyak Darshitatma Gati Samyak Prashasya Vacha Tam Nirpa Prashasya Vacha Tam Nirpa Maitreya Uvacha Saevam Brahma Putrena Kumaretnatma Medasa Darshitatma Gati Samyak Prashasya Vacha Tam Nirpa Maitreya Uvacha Saevam Brahma Putrena Kumaretnatma Medasa Darshitatma Gati Samyak Prashasya Vacha Tam Nirpa Vacha Saevam Brahma Putrena Kumaratma Menasa Ashitatma Gati Samyak Vachatam Nirpa Vijaya Vacha Kumaratma Menasa Dashitatma Gati Samyak Vashasya Vachatam Nirpa Vijaya Vacha Saevam Brahma Putena Kumaratma Medasa Darshitatma Gati Samyak Vishasya Vachantam Nirpa Vajaya Vacha Saevam Brahma Putrena Kumaratma Medasa Darshitatma Gati Samyak Vishasya Vacha Vajaya Vacha Saevam Brahma Putrena Kumaratma Medasa Darshitatma Gati Samyak Vishasya Vacha Tamnipa Maitreya Uvacha. The great sage Maitreya said, Sa, the king, Evam, thus, Brahma Putrena, by the son of Lord Brahma, Kumarena, by one of the Kumaras, Atma Medasa, well versed in spiritual knowledge, Darshita, being shown, Atma Gati, spiritual advancement, Samyak, completely, Prashasya, worshipping, Uvacha, said, Tam, unto him, Nirpa, the king. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki. The great sage Maitreya continued, being thus enlightened in complete spiritual knowledge by the son of Brahma, one of the Kumaras, who was complete in spiritual knowledge, the king worshipped them in the following words. Purport. In this verse, the word Atma Medasa is commented upon by Sripad Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who says that Atmani means unto Lord Krishna, Paramatmani. Lord Krishna is Paramatma. Ishwara Parama Krishna, Brahma Samhita 15.1. Therefore, one whose mind is acting fully in Krishna consciousness is called Atma Meda. This may be contrasted to the word Kriha Medi, which refers to one whose brain is always engrossed with thoughts of material activities. The Atma Meda is always thinking of Krishna's activities in Krishna consciousness. Since Sanat Kumar, who was a son of Lord Brahma, was fully Krishna conscious, he could point out the path of spiritual advancement. The word Atma Gati refers to the path of activities by which one can make progress in understanding Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitam Yana Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu be'evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Satadevi Pranamami Hari Priya. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The verse again. The great sage Maitreya continued, being thus enlightened in complete spiritual knowledge by the son of Brahma, one of the Kumaras, who was complete in spiritual knowledge, King worshipped them in the following words. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada is quoting from the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the supreme controller. He has a body that is full in eternity, knowledge and bliss. Govinda is the original person and the primeval cause of all causes. It is described that nothing moves without Krishna's sanction. Krishna is Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes. And the reason why Krishna is the cause of all causes is because he is the supreme controller. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Krishna is supreme because he has no equal or superior. Even with that being said, Krishna in his various pastimes doesn't really exhibit this aspect of control. Vamanadev appeared at the request of Aditi, the mother of the Aditya Devatas, in order to take everything that belonged to Bali Maharaj. In the same way, Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad Maharaj if the Supreme Lord is in the pillar. Prahlad Maharaj said yes. And when Hiranyakashipu broke the pillar, Nrsingadev appeared. Similarly, there is a pastime where Mother Yashoda is binding Krishna with a rope. Mother Yashoda bound the unlimited personality of Godhead. One of the characteristics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that he is controlled by love, which is described in the Nectar of Devotion. But love can only be manifest when there is relationships. And relationships can only be exhibited by individuals, persons, and persons require free will. If Krishna, who is the supreme controller, had to really enforce control, then it will be counterproductive to having free will. Without free will, individuality no longer exists, and persons will become mechanical. Machines cannot develop relationships, and love cannot be expressed. So Krishna doesn't really enforce control. It's described that one of Krishna's desires is that he wants to have relationships with his devotees, and he wants them to come back home, back to Godhead. So if Krishna enforces control over all the living entities, then it will be counterproductive to his own desires. Once during a Sunday love peace class, His Holiness Parthasati Das Goswami Maharaj was giving class, and he was explaining the enjoyment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He first gave the example of Mahavishnu, who is in his Yoga Nidra position, like the picture that's on the ceiling at the center of the temple room. Mahavishnu, while in this Yoga Nidra position, mystic slumber, is actually enjoying Lakshmi within himself. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is enjoying his internal potency. That's one stage of pleasure. Then Maharaj said that there is a better experience of pleasure that the Supreme Personality of Godhead feels. Maharaj gave the example of Radha and Krishna. Krishna's internal potency manifests externally. Now the internal potency can interact with Krishna. And so Krishna's internal potency, Radharani, can joke and fight and play with Krishna. This gives Krishna even more pleasure. Krishna would rather have Radharani appear externally than have her within himself. When Radharani is manifested externally, Radha and Krishna can expand their relationship. In the same way, you have your individuality and free will because Krishna wants to have some relationship with you. But just because Krishna wants to have a relationship with you doesn't imply that the living entities want to have a relationship with Krishna. Some living entities, with their free will, desire to exist separately from Krishna. And so Krishna opens up the material world for those living entities who want to be their own independent person. And the first thing that the living entity does in the material world is to imitate Krishna or Radharani. And so the material nature will give you a body that is a form that is just like Krishna's or Radharani's. Because of this imitation process, the living entities become Griha Medi. As Prabhupada says in the purport, the brain is full of material activities. The Griha Medi identifies with the material body, and because of that, he or she generates their own miseries. It's generally understood that a Grihasta refers to a devotee householder, and a Griha Medi is referring to a material householder or a non-devotee householder. But from the description made in this purport, anybody can become a Griha Medi, including devotees. Bhagavatam tells the story of King Pururava. He was a ruler of this planet. He was a devotee of the Supreme Lord, and he had many good qualities, so much so that Narada Muni would go to the heavenly planets and tell the demigods all about King Pururava. One time, there was an Apsara present. Her name was Urvashi. Urvashi wasn't an ordinary Apsara. She was the daughter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, having directly manifested from the thigh of Narayan. And later on, Urvashi became the mother of the Kuru dynasty, which you will know had produced many devotees, many pure devotees. So hearing the descriptions of Pururava, Urvashi was attracted to the king of the earthly planet, and so she went to meet him, and they got married. As Prabhupada would say, boy is good and girl is good, together bad. Pururava on his own was good, and Urvashi on her own was good, but together bad. Bhagavatam never describes their household life as grihasta. They were griha medis. Then later on, Pururava and Urvashi separated. Urvashi was a girl from the heavenly planets, so she had to return to the heavenly planets. And Pururava became miserable after that. Shri Shri Radha Radhana ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So Pururava became miserable after that. Literally, as the saying goes, no life without wife. He couldn't enjoy all his material opulence without his wife, and so he decided to renounce everything. Pururava had reached the peak of Griha Medi life. Then in his separation from his wife, in that renounced state of mind, Pururava had gotten some realization. In his realization, Pururava became an Atmagati. Prabhupada says here in the purport, Atmagati refers to the path of activities by which one can make progress in understanding Krishna. Pururava rediscovered devotional service, and in that realization, Pururava sang a song known as the Aila Gita. The Aila Gita can be found in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 11th canto, Krishna was so impressed by Pururava that he was repeating the Aila Gita to Uddhava. And at the end of the Aila Gita, Pururava became an Atma Medasa, having the mind fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. And Pururava ended up going back home, back to Godhead. Atma Medasa, one whose mind is acting fully in Krishna consciousness. When the devotee has reached that level, he is able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead everywhere. Just like Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj saw the Supreme Lord everywhere. Is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this pillar? Yes, he is. Every morning we sing Nashinga Pranams, and in the second verse, Ito Nishingo Parato Nishingo, Yato Yato Yami Tato Nishinga, Bahir Nishingo Ridaya Nishingo, Narashimham Adim Sharanam Prapadeh. Lord Nishinga is here and also there. Wherever I go, Lord Nishingadev is there. He is within the heart and is outside as well. I surrender to Lord Nishinga, the origin of all things and the supreme refuge. There's a pastime that displays this point, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is everywhere. In some rural village, there was a village chief who acquired a Shiva Lingam. And this village chief, for whatever reason, couldn't worship the Shiva Lingam on his own. And so he went out to find someone who can. And eventually the village chief came across a Brahmana named Vishaksena. The village chief requested the Brahmana to worship the Shiva Lingam, but the Brahmana, Vishaksena, said that he is a devotee of Lord Hari. He only worships Lord Hari. Then the village chief became antagonistic, and he pulled out his sword. He began threatening the Brahmana to worship the Shiva Lingam. So Vishaksena, being afraid for his life, can only comply with the village chief. So Vishaksena came to the home of the village chief and began worshipping the Shiva Lingam. And the village chief was so happy that he brought his companions to witness the worship of the Shiva Lingam, and everyone was celebrating. After a while, some people started to notice something odd about the worship of the Shiva Lingam. And the village chief also noticed something wasn't right. And he discovered that Vishwaksena wasn't chanting any mantras related to Lord Shiva. The Brahmana was chanting mantras meant for another deity. The village chief and his companions became very angry, and the village chief drew his sword to kill Vishwaksena. And at that moment, the Shiva Lingam split open, and out came Nrsingadev. And Nrsingadev had killed everyone that was trying to cause harm to his devotee. And since then, this version of Nrsingadev became known as Nrsinga Linga. Even to this day, there are people who dress the Shiva Lingam as Nrsingadev and worship Nrsingadev. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is everywhere. Even when the living entities want to enjoy separate from Krishna and live their lives separate from Krishna, Krishna is never actually separate from you. He is always present by your side. In fact, it's explained that Krishna is very eager for all the living entities to come home back to Godhead. Unfortunately, the living entities are too much engrossed in material life as Griha Medis, that they've forgotten Krishna. And so Krishna sends his Atma Medasa to point out the path of spiritual advancement. In our own lives, we can agree that Prabhupada is 100% Atma Medasa. Just like Sanat Kumar is qualified to point out the path of spiritual advancement, in the same way, none of us would have become devotees if we didn't directly or indirectly come in contact with Prabhupada and take up the role of an Atma Gati and enter the process to understand Krishna. So I'll stop over here. Any questions or comments? Granted Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.